Welcome back. It's time for the last session, and I will be sharing it with Ingrid Stange.
Thank you, Namra. We have been talking a lot about youth now these 2 days, and celebrating youth and looking at how we can unleash the potential in youth. But sometimes experience is also good to have. And regardless of political affiliation between all of us, I at least have to admit that when our present finance minister was chosen to become finance minister after the financial crisis, it was a sort of a relaxing moment. It's good to have something with experience, and from his area, you have both your feet on the ground. Welcome, Sigbjørn Johnsen.
Good morning, and thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here. And there is a saying that you see your own future in the eyes of your children. And I think that is a very wise political guideline when we are looking forwards. I'm going to speak with you about two topics this morning. And first of all, I would like to say a few words about what we in Norway call the generational contract. And there is such that every society depends on an unwritten contract between generations. We take care of our children and our parents when they grow old, just as we expect our children to take care of us when we grow old. So in a modern welfare state like Norway, this dependence applies to all of society, not just within individual families. Of course, the generational contract has many aspects. One of them is taking care of the environment to ensure that nature is in balance and we can deliver the nature over to our children in good shape. But this morning, I'm going to speak to you about the generational contract on public finances, like it suits the Minister of Finance, of course. But in Norway, the Minister of Finance is also a kind of a climate minister, so I cover both topics. Of course, in a welfare state, schools and education are financed with public money, from kindergarten to university. Children and youth receive more from the state than they contribute in that period of life. They are what we call net recipients. When individuals reach the old age, a little bit older than I am today, and tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, but well, many days after tomorrow I grow older myself. Of course, then we are entitled to pensions and also health care and care for not being able to take care of ourselves at the other end of the life. So, of course, that's also why elderly people also are net recipients from the state on average. Who pays then? Who are the net contributors? Of course, that is people in the working age and in work life. And with labor income and smaller need for public benefits and individual services, indeed, on the average, the welfare state redistributes across an individual's lifetime far more than it redistributes between individuals. The foundation of this system, and this is my main point in part one, is employment. Labor and human capital is our most valuable resource and our main source of economic and personal welfare. Even for Norway, as you probably know, which is a very rich country with a lot of natural resource revenues. But even in Norway, more than 80% of our national wealth is labor and the value of human capital. Petroleum and other financial assets only accounts for approximately 8% of the total wealth. So there is two main lessons from this. First of all, high employment must and should be our top priority, and thus also low unemployment. And each generation should be treated fairly by the welfare state. So that's why social distribution and a fair social distribution is one of the strongest glues of society. Employment. For every person who cannot find a job, we are wasting talent. There are huge costs for both the individual and the society, especially when this affects young people. And there are a lot of research telling us that there are lasting negative effects when young people remain outside the labor market for a long time. And today, many countries, many of our neighboring countries to Norway and many other countries in the world faces huge and grave challenges in the aftermath of the financial crisis. In countries in Europe, in many countries in Europe, more than 50% of young people are unemployed. I met a few of them in my travels around Europe during the last year. And this, my friends, really challenges the social cohesion of many societies. If we cannot provide our youth with acceptable employment opportunities, what reason will they have for believing in the institutions of society, the major institutions of society? Without trust in our institution, we are weakening the basis for a robust and peaceful democratic society. Therefore, one of the most important challenges that we have as politicians today is to cope and to face the important phase. What do we do about youth unemployment? There are unfortunately no simple solutions. Many countries are facing severe budget constraints, but I think, and I have some experience with this from times a little bit way back from the early 90s, it is possible, even when the economy is in a downturn, to redistribute money in the fiscal budget in order to get funding of special programs, for instance, for young people giving possibilities in school and education, for different labor market incentives for young people, and for other similar action that is needed. So I think to headlight these challenges is one of our most important challenges going forward. In a fortnight, I'm going to Paris to the OECD ministerial meeting, and there we are going to work for putting forward and adapt an action plan coping with challenges of youth unemployment. I think that would be a major political step going forward. So I would say that to have a society where we combine social security with high economic performance, including high labor market participation and low unemployment rates, is imminent. Norway has the lowest unemployment rate among European countries and one of the lowest of young people. But even in Norway, there are also challenges facing young people taking part in society. So I would say a well-functioning labor market is a key feature for our country. And I don't think I have to stress that further, because we all clearly realize that the high participation of young people in work life, in democratic institutions, in life of society is vital for our common future. So then I move to my second point. Each generation should be treated fairly by the welfare state. This can also be called intergenerational equity. This is relevant for all countries, but even more for countries with large temporary revenues, for instance from extraction of non-renewable natural resources like we experience in Norway. And This was firmly stated by the parliament from the outset of the oil age in Norway. We said many important things, but I will mention two now. One was that the oil resources belongs to the Norwegian people, and it should be managed for the Norwegian people by the parliament. And we should also manage these resources in a generational span, which means that not only present generations should benefit from this resource, but also they should be managed for the benefit of future generation. And that is important. And this is something of what I mean with the intergenerational equity. And then I could speak to you about some of the framework around the Norwegian economic policy, but there is one feature that I will briefly mention to you, and that is in Norway we separate the actual cash flow from the oil activity from the actual spending in the fiscal budget. In the fiscal budget, we are only supposed to spend the return on the average from the fund. We should more or less leave the balance of the fund untouched for the benefit of future generations. Some time ago, we put forward a very important document to the parliament called, it's not so exciting, the title, Long-Term Perspectives on the Norwegian Economy. But when you read the document, it's very exciting. And one of the key questions we face and we address in this document is whether Norway can sustain its current welfare benefits in the coming decades if we continue to work as much as we do today. The answer is no. In 2060, the year when I'm going to turn 110 years, there will be a shortfall on the fiscal budget equivalent to 6% of GDP in the mainland economy. And that's why we highlight that one and probably the best solution to this challenge is to increase our total work during our lifetime. We live longer, we have healthier lives, and therefore it's also possible for us to stay in the working life for a longer period of time. And over time, it's not possible to preserve a welfare system unless it's backed by the labor force, because it is the labor force, it's human labor that carries the welfare state on its back. So let me close by saying, in a long-term perspective, the petroleum resources and the fund only add a small amount to our national wealth. For the main part, we have to rely on our ability to manage other resources well. The most important resource by far is, as I already said, people and knowledge. And that's why it is so important how we manage our human resources and how we try to refine and increase the value of human capital and human resources. So therefore, my friends, the most important contribution we can make to uphold the contract between generations is to give young people hope and dreams for the future, good education, good possibilities in the society. In the short term, it creates income and opportunities. In the longer run, it is a key to making sure that we can continue to take care of our children and the elderly. We see our own future in the eyes of our children. It's a very liable guideline for politicians and for politics. Thank you very much.